Okay, so the objective of our today's session is what is meant by that switch mode power supply. In short, it is known as SMPS. Again, why it is titled as switch mode. Last time already we discussed related to that. Then basic block diagram and components used in SMPS, and then various DC to DC converters used in SMPS. Okay. So see, basically, before going to the next topic, my question is, can we call SMPS as a DC to DC converter? Are you getting what I'm asking? Can we call SMPS as a DC to DC converter? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, because see, last time I taken that one example. There is one switch connected in series with somewhat large DC voltage source, and towards the output side there is RL. Okay. Whenever we are turning on and turn off that switch with the predefined or pre-calculated duty cycle, then accordingly we can obtain the output voltage as per our requirement. Last time we discussed by taking that example, if the input DC voltage is of 207 volts, that means if we directly rectified our AC mains, that is 230 volt RMS, then the obtained average DC voltage that will be 207 without any step down, correct now? And if that switch is connected in series with that, and if it is momentarily turn on and turn off, then the how that pulsating DC we can obtain at the load side, that already we discussed, is it? Depending on the duty cycle of that switching pattern, we can obtain the output as per our requirement again, right? So I conducted again by taking that example, if my desired output is of 5 volts and the main DC source at the input of that switch is of 207 volts. Similarly, if the switching frequency of that switch is, I think we taken it as 20 kilohertz, correct? Then what should be the on period and off period of that switch? Am I right? Are you getting it? Whatever
Yes,
we
sir.
last time discussed, I just taken that review, okay? So I think last time we already determined the on period of that switch as 1 point something microsecond and off period it is of 48 point something microsecond, correct? And by that equation which we derived, that is output voltage of that pulsating DC equals to duty cycle into V in, right? That duty cycle is nothing but T on divided by capital T. That capital T is nothing but T on plus T off, correct? So that T on plus T off, that is nothing but capital T, which is 1 by F, and that F is considered as 20 kilohertz. By that, we determine the T on. So how much it was? If you have that calculation with you now, just let me know.
1.2 microseconds.
Okay, it was 1.2 microseconds. And T off is, I think, total T, it was 50 microseconds, correct? No? 50. And that's why the T off was 48.8 microseconds, right? And again, I taken that example of which switch we should operate, electronic switch. That means either we should go for BJT or MOSFET, right? If BJT is used, then the voltage drop across BJT, that is between collector to emitter, it is somewhat greater than that of voltage drop across MOSFET between drain to source. Why it is less, that also I explained last time by taking the reference of that output characteristics and the on switch operating region of both switches, that is for BJT as well as MOSFET, right? As we know, according to the load current condition, the total current will going on to flow through that series connected switch, and generally that load current rating is almost 1 ampere to onwards. Even if we look for our mobile charger, then its current rating is also that much high, is it? If you don't know, you just read the specifications given on that mobile charger. Okay, almost its output voltage rating is of 5 volt DC and current rating is also very high, and that's why our high current rated DC source, that is battery of our mobile handset, it gets recharged somewhat fastly. Okay, and that's why I always used to say, don't use the another mobile charger to your handset, because that manufacturer provided the required mobile charger with your mobile handset, right? So mostly preferred that charger only, because the charger current rating and the charging current requirement of that mobile handset, it is correlated. Accordingly, that charger is designed. So if that BJT is used, then there is somewhat more power dissipation, and to improve the efficiency of our converter, the efficiency should be as high as possible, right? By taking our conventional regulated power supply, that is the linear regulated power supply, that efficiency is maximum 80%. And if we go for SMPS, then its efficiency increases up to 90 to 95%. And that's why, in general, we are seeing that SMPS is more efficient as compared to that linear power supply, linear regulated power supply, by using that linear IC regulator, right? So, see, before showing this PowerPoint, I would like to share again one example of that MOSFET, that is IRF 540N. I think during your second year EDC practicals, MOSFET base, MOSFET as a switch, we use the same transistor. It is available in our lab also, right? So here you will observe the features of this device. First one is, it is mentioned as ultra low on resistance. That is, its RDS on is only 0.04 ohm. Are you getting it? Can you observe whatever I am showing? See, this RDS on, it is mentioned as 0.04 ohm. That means it is close to zero, we can say, in our language, right? When it will be possible, RDS on this much low, it is mentioned when you will be able to apply that VGS equals to 10 volts. See, reading off that data sheet is also very important while designing in your electronic system. Are you getting it? This first feature, that means, see, if the applied VGS to our MOSFET is, for example, 0 volt, sorry, okay? If VGS is equals to 0, how much will be this parameter, that is RDS, drain to source resistance? Can anyone? How MOSFET gets turned on? MOSFET is a voltage control or current control device. Voltage control. That means its turn on or turn off, that will remain depend on what? Value of VGS. Are you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
That VGS, it should be greater than VT, then and then we can say that transistor will get turned on, right? Will get turned on means what? See, you are familiar with this symbol actually, right? When you will go on to apply the voltage which is greater than VT, then and then there will be non-zero ID flowing from drain to source, right? When that VG will be less than VT, no channel will go on to form between that drain and source, and hence this RDS on will be how much, or RDS will be how much? That is the resistance between drain to source. or we can say it is the channel resistance mostly. So it will be infinite, right? And that's why we are saying that transistor is working into its cutoff region. When VGS is equals to threshold voltage or slightly greater than threshold voltage, there will be non-zero ID, correct? That device will start to conduct, right? But whatever current is flowing to that device, whenever that VGS is somewhat greater than VT or equals to VT, that current will be very, very small because a very weak channel gets induced, gets enhanced between that drain to source. And hence the capacity of the channel is very small to handle the current, or to handle very less amount of current. And that's why in another way we can say the resistance offered between drain to source, it will not be equal to infinite, will be finite but very high. Are you getting it? And that operation of transistor, it will be in its saturation region. That means amplification region. Transistor is in on state, but the resistance offered between drain to source of that transistor, it will be very, very high. And that's why current will be very small. Right? Being an amplifier, whenever you are using the same transistor as an amplifier, drain to source voltage, that means the output voltage, generally we are calling it, it should be high, as large as possible. Because being an amplifier, the gain of that amplifier is output voltage divided by input voltage, right? So that output voltage, whenever it will get increased, then the gain also will get increased. And being an amplifier, that gain should be, already I told, as large as possible. So the resistance offered between drain to source, that should be sufficiently large, being an amplifier, in another way, we can say, correct? So the resistance offered between drain to source, it is dependent on what? VGS, right? That VGS, it should be sufficiently large. Why it should be sufficiently large? Being a another application, that is on switch, because whenever you will apply a large or sufficiently large VGS to this transistor, it will go on to force into its ohmic region directly. It will not going on to remain in that saturation region. Means what? The resistance offered by that device, it will be very, very small, closer to 0 ohm, and hence drop across that transistor is voltage between drain to source, it will be closer to 0 volts. Are you getting it? So being a on switch, this transistor, it should get forced into its ohmic region, and being off switch, again it should get forced into its cutoff region. It should not remain in that saturation region, middle region, being a on and off switch. Are you getting now? And that's why the first feature which is mentioned here, that is ultra low on resistance. Why it is mentioned? Because the manufacturer says that whenever you will go on to apply that VGS equals to 10 volts, that RDS on, that will be 0.040 ohm only. That means this transistor is going on to act as a perfectly closed switch. And that is our requirement in this application, right? Being a switch. So just imagine, suppose the current flowing through that transistor as a switch is of 1 ampere. Okay. And the transistor is thrown into its ohmic region as per this first feature, that is ultra low on resistance, by applying that VGS equals to 10 volts. How much will be the voltage drop, which is of no use in this application? That means VDS, because in this application, the use of transistor is as a switch, either to close the path or open the path. Being an amplifier, the requirement is different. Remember, being a closed switch or open switch, the requirements are different. So, simple question I am asking here, if during its on state, if the current flowing is 1 ampere, that means the load is consuming 1 ampere of current by the application of that VGS, that pulse of 10 volt amplitude, and with 1.2 microsecond. We are applying a gate pulse here. How much is its amplitude? Its amplitude is suppose 10 volt. Okay. And its duration is how much? It is of 1.2 microsecond. So during that 1.2 microsecond, there will be non-zero ID. Are you agree with this? First of all, because as the pulse amplitude is 10 volt, as per this first specification, that transistor it will get force into its ohmic region. That means it will going to act as a closed switch. So I consider during that period, if the current flowing is 1 ampere, my question is how much will be the drop across to source voltage drop. So simple, V equals to IR. Yes, it will be only 0.04 volts, right? That means it is negligible, we can say, right now. Yes or no? 0.04 volt drop means it is almost 0 volts. And being on switch, it should be as low as possible. Are you getting it? So while designing any, okay, we'll take that assignment also. We'll try to implement it by using simulation software. You have to remember two things. Okay, take that VGS, that means the pulse amplitude, whatever pulse we will going to apply as a gate drive to this MOSFET, that is IRF 540N, that pulse amplitude should be of 10 volts, and by that we know that transistor will be going to offer very low resistance, and that is 0.040 ohm only, and by that the voltage of across that switch will be only 0.04 volts. Remember this one. Take that VGS at 10 volts. Okay. Ravi Gaikwad, if you don't have any problem, then just mute yourself. You are interrupting to all us. Okay. Good. Thank you. Okay. So this is one of the main feature while selecting a device as a switch, right? Now we'll observe another parameters also, and these are also very important. Okay, so I think it may be given in table form. Okay, yes, it is there. So see, this electrical specification of this transistor, first one is given as drain source breakdown voltage, right? What is meaning of this first specification? Drain to source breakdown voltage means what? If drain is at positive potential with respect to source, and here in this condition it is mentioned when VGS is equals to 0 volts. Are you getting it? At the drain terminal of this transistor, somewhat positive DC voltage is applied with respect to the source, and gate is open circuited. That means VGS equals to 0. At how much that drain voltage in the absence of gate to source voltage, that transistor will be going to turn on, that is 100 in volts. Are you getting it? Or shall I again repeat? Shall I repeat it?
No, sir.
See, this first specification is given as drain to source breakdown voltage. Breakdown voltage means what? For the test conditions, we take that VGS is equals to 0. Don't apply any gate voltage, but there is somewhat positive drain voltage. Expected is what? There should be ID equals to 0. That means transistor should not get turned on. Are you agree with this? Whenever VGS is equals to 0. That means whenever we will going on to keep that gate drive pulse for 48.2 microsecond as a 0 volt, during that period, transistor should remain in conduction or should remain in off state. What do you think?
Off state.
It should remain in off state, right? But it will remain in off state depending on what? How much is the drain voltage available? See, our drain voltage minimum we can apply as a 100. If 100 volt is there, if VGS is at 0 volt, 100 volt at drain terminal, and VGS is at 0 volt, that transistor breakdown we want to occur. Are you getting it? So minimum at 100 volts, that transistor will start to conduct even if that VGS is 0. Are you getting it? And in our example, how much drain voltage we are considering as per our previous discussion?
5
It
to 10.
was, it was 207 volts,
200.
correct na? So by taking our previous reference or previous example here, what we can conclude, we can't use this IRF 540N because during the off period of that pulse, transistor will get turned on. Right? Are you agree with this? Because it's drain to source, minimum breakdown voltage is given as 100 volts only. And in our example, in our previous consideration, that was 207. Because that drain voltage will remain available over there continuously. By switching that switch, that transistor, as on switch only for 1.2 microseconds, we will going on to obtain the output, right? And for 48.2 microseconds, expected is what? That transistor it should remain in offset. Then and then the output voltage will be 0, correct? And again we'll repeat, so that its average voltage will be equals to 5 volts. Can you correlate it with our previous discussion? Whatever the things I am trying to highlight over here, can you correlate it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So this is again one of the more important electrical specification while selecting that switch. Generally, we are not considering this one, zero gate voltage drain current, right? It is of 1 microampere. Generally, it is a leakage current amount. See here, gate to source leakage current. It is mentioned as plus minus 100 nanoampere. Okay. The important things are while at this stage only, means that remaining parameters are not important. It is not like that. Okay. Next one is get to source threshold voltage. This is also very important specification at our stage. VGS threshold. It is minimum given as 2 volts and maximum is of 4. Maximum 4 means what? It is not like that. We can apply VGS maximum as a 4. Device to device, there may be somewhat variation in that threshold voltage. And that's why that manufacturer mentions it like 2 to 4 volts. Are you getting? That means if there are 2 transistors and physically I am testing it at our lab, okay. That first transistor is threshold voltage, it may be 2 volts, but for if I replace it by second transistor with the same number and manufacturer, then it may need somewhat more voltage than that of previous to get turned on, right? That second transistor may require 3 volts. So for second transistor, threshold voltage level is how much? 3. And for first one, it is of 2. And that's why in general, that manufacturer provides minimum and maximum ratings of that particular parameter. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, one more thing you will observe, this 2 to 4 volts will be when VGS is equals to VDS. That means how much drain voltage you are applying with respect to source. That is by that VDD. Generally, we are calling that DC source which is connected to the drain as a VDD. Okay. Then when these 2 voltage levels will be same, that means whatever VGS you are going to apply, if the same voltage is applied to the drain, for example. So for first transistor, it may get turned on to 2 volts, and for second transistor, it may get turned on to 4 volts. And this one, it is already, I explained what is the importance of this RDS on. Again, it is dependent on, already I told, the value of VGS. Right. And one more important parameter, again, you will observe this ID equals to 33 ampere. So remember, this switch, it is capable to handle very large current. That is of 33 ampere continuous current. And that's why typically we can say the resistance offered between drain to source of this switch, it is 0.033 and maximum 0.040 ohms only. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the next important parameter again at our stage which we require, Already last time I take that example about the on time or response time of that switch. It should be faster than that of our T on of that pulse. Otherwise, what happen? Last time already I explained it. Otherwise, if the response time is greater than the on period of that pulse, that transistor will remain in off state, even if gate pulse arrived or applied to that transistor, right? So you have to read these switching specifications also. Again, it is mentioned in that bracket whenever your gate to source voltage condition is of 10 volts, right? So turn on time, it is given as 100 nanoseconds. Means after the application of that gate pulse, the transistor will start to turn on or it will get delayed by 100 nanoseconds, right? And next one, you will observe turn on delay time, that is TD on. It is of 9.5 nanoseconds. See, if you plot one pulse, ideal pulse, then its on period is how much? 0 second. That means from 0 to peak, how much time that pulse takes? It takes only 0 second. That's why we are drawing that vertical line perpendicular to x-axis, right? But in actual practice, it is not perpendicular. It will have somewhat slope. And that is nothing but this turn on delay time. It is of 9.5 nanoseconds. Next one is mentioned as a rise time. You might be familiar what is meant by that rise time. You might have studied it in case of op-amp while studying the slew rate. Rise time means the time taken by that signal to get rise from its minimum 10% to 90% of its maximum value. And it is of 57 nanoseconds. Similarly, during turn off, again, if you look towards the ideal pulse, then its turn off time is 0. That's why we are again showing that vertical line perpendicular to x-axis. But in actual practice, what happens? The device takes again somewhat time to get turn off from its on state to off state. And it is given as 40 nanoseconds. And respect to its fall time. See, the device have the right time as well as fall time. It is mentioned as 55 nanoseconds. Means rise time is slightly greater than its fall time. And hence the total turn off time. Right. You will go on study in detail all the parameters. Whenever in semester you will study about the SCR, dynamic characteristics, silicon control rectifier. If I taken that subject again, then I will again in detail will go on to explain about the importance of these various delay, rise time, fall time, and that total turn off and total turn on time. Okay, that turn off time, it is given as 145 nanosecond, while its turn on time is given as 100 nanoseconds. So you have to consider these two times. Remember, that is total turn on time, and total turn off time, while selecting this switch. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are the main important parameters like that switching specifications or that electrical characteristics of that device. Okay. This reverse recovery time and all that, all are there in case of whenever you will go to study the SCR dynamic characteristics. Okay. So now I will switch to our main presentation. This is the basic block diagram of SMPS. Okay. See, graphically also it is shown that input signal is shown as a somewhat sine wave, AC input supply, then there is a input rectification and filtering. But here is not mentioned step down AC because it is not mandatory to step down the AC voltage. But the requirement of selected transistor will get increased. VDS, or just I explain about its breakdown voltage in the absence of input. Right. For that shown example, that is by taking that IRF 540N, it was only 100 volts when VGS is equals to 0. Correct? So you have to select somewhat another transistor having that breakdown voltage greater than 207 volts. If you thinking without step down that AC voltage, you have to process or you have to use that transistor is SMPS, right? Either MOSFET or BJT. First preference you should give to MOSFET, and then if it is not available, then go for BJT, right? In few cases, you might have seen in our mobile chargers also, by using a parallel combination of somewhat high wattage resistor and that polyester capacitor parallel with each other, that current is also limited of that AC voltage, that is 230 volt RMS, as well as its amplitude is also gets decreased. Have you seen it? And mostly you will observe these things in that mosquito bat. Is it there at your home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, we are connecting that mosquito bat directly to 230 volt to recharge the battery which is available inside that bat. Okay. But the weight of that bat, it is not that much heavy. That bat is not that much heavy. That means without any step down, whatever charger is there, inbuilt charger is there, it is designed. First thing. If step down transformer is used, then the weight of that bat also will get increased. Correct? Because step down transformers are mostly very heavier, right? But the weight of the total weight of that bat is not that much, even if it is somewhat less than our step down transformer. Are you agree with this? So when you
Yes, sir.
open it, just try to open it. If damaged bat is there, just try to open and just check at the input pins, charging pins. You will observe there is one parallelly connected with each other RC combination. That means one pin is connected as an input to that parallel combination of resistor and capacitor, and then its output of that parallel component, that is R and C, is given to the rectifier circuit. That means the use of that RC combination over there is what? To step down the AC voltage as well as to limit the current. How it works? Just do the research on that. You will get somewhat idea about it. How that a large amplitude AC voltage will get decreased, or how that total power of the AC source, it will get decreased simply by using that RC combination, and then it is connected to the rectifier circuit. That means after rectification, whatever DC voltage is available, that will be very small DC voltage, which will be sufficient to recharge the inbuilt battery used in that mosquito bat. Okay. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whenever you are thinking to select this switch, see it is mentioned frequency switch. Whenever you are thinking to select this switch, you have to first of all read the electrical specifications. In the absence of its gate drive, how much voltage it can sustain. Sustain it should not get turn on. That means there should not be a breakdown. Then and then we can obtain pulsating DC at the output. Right? Now see, as shown here again, whatever pulsating DC is shown, is it correct? It is wrong. It is not a pulsating DC, it is a square wave. But the switch will not going on to provide the output as a square. It will going on to provide only pulsing DC. So whatever graphical representation is over here, there should not be a negative pulses. So this is wrong part of this presentation. Okay, it should not be a square wave. It should be a pulsing DC only. Because whenever that transistor will remain off, the output voltage it should be 0. But again, we can say it will be okay, it is correct. But when it will be possible if the inductor is connected at its output. By the property of inductor, whenever the current passing through that inductor goes to 0, that means switch will get turned off, the polarity of that inductor it gets reversed. Then and then this negative part will be possible. Okay. So both conditions are there. If inductor is used, then there is a possibility of the negative part at the output terminal of that switch. And if it is not there, then only a pulsating DC will be available. Okay. Are you getting up to over here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Later on, whatever pulsating DC we are obtaining after that switch with somewhat pre-calculated T on and T off, that means considered duty cycle, that pulsating DC signal, it is passed through the high frequency transformer. Generally, the transformer used, it is high frequency transformer. Right? It may be step down, high frequency transformer, or it may be high frequency coupling transformer. That means no step down and no step up, only coupling transformer. It is used to isolate that high amplitude DC voltage which is available over here from the output side. Generally that output side, it is very low voltage, average output, correct now? So to protect that output from the high amplitude pulses, this high frequency transformer is used as a, in few cases, as a partially step down, as well as another is nothing but that is isolation purpose. In your study only it's how to prepare that high frequency transformer, that steps are mentioned, that also I will show you how it is prepared. Okay, mostly that ferrite core are used to manufacture this high frequency transformer. And another thing that you have to remember, as the operating frequency of that design transformer increases, its weight size gets reduced. So this high frequency transformer, it is very, very small in size as well as less weight as compared to our conventional 50 Hertz transformer. Okay. So the weight as well as size, it is directly proportional to frequency. Not directly, it is inversely proportional to frequency. As frequency increases, operating frequency, its size as well as weight gets reduced. Later on, towards the secondary side of that high frequency transformer, it's somewhat our conventional rectifier circuit. Are already familiar. Just imagine there is one transformer and after that there is one rectifier circuit. See, it is mentioned output rectification and filtering. LC filter is preferred for the smoothing of that output voltage to pure DC. This one, having its amplitude as per our requirement, right? And the most important thing in SMPS, that is its controlling circuit. And that's why it is somewhat complicated as compared to our linear power supply. So this feedback circuitry is known as a controlling circuitry. Okay. So you observed here one block, that is PWM. You might have heard this word, PWM. Right? What is PWM?
Pulse width modulation.
Yes, it is pulse width modulation. Why it is necessary? The output of that PWM, it is a pulses having somewhat duty cycle. Yes.
So by controlling the width, we can control the turn on and turn off period of the switch.
Yes. That is the purpose of use of this PWM circuitry. Okay. So how to generate that PWM? That also today, if we have sufficient time, okay, we will continue with this PWM today during our practical session. Okay. I will give few examples. There are multiple ways, multiple PWM circuitries are there for your study as well as in actual practical. Like you might have studied about IC 555 as a stable multi-vibrator, right now?
Yes,
IC
sir.
555, you already studied it during your first year, as well as those who are came from the diploma, right now? So that IC 555 can be used as a pulse generator with our desired duty cycle, or we can use the op-amp also to generate the DC pulses. Or in general, we can say that op-amp can be used as a PWM generator. So today, how that op-amp can be used as a PWM generator, that session I will be going to conduct during my practical hours. Okay. So this PWM will go on to generate pulses with in our example as 1.2 microsecond on period and 48.8 microsecond off period pulses. Right. Now the question is why there is need of this feedback. By using a simple, for example, that op-amp, we can generate the pulses as per our requirement. That means we can generate that pulses with on period of 1.2 micro and off period of 48.8 micro with amplitude of 10 volts. As per the data sheet, we just observed it right now. At VGS, generally requirement given by the manufacturer is of 10 volts. I will want to keep the amplitude of that pulses which are generated by that PWM generator op-amp base as 10 volts. So it is very simple by using op-amp. We can easily manage the gain. Okay. But why there is need of this feedback part? Can anyone have the idea about it?
Sir, AC input varies from 180 to 250 volts, so output may vary. So that's why feedback is necessary, as we can change the
Okay.
PWM pulses.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So that means you are seeing in terms of the percentage line regulation. If there is variation in supply voltage, then there may be variation in DC output voltage, correct? So to regulate it, there is a feedback path, feedback controlling circuit. 100% correct answer. Similarly, second one, remember if there is variation in load voltage due to variation in load current, then also, but even if the input voltage is constant, but by changing the load, if the DC output voltage tries to get changed, then again feedback path and this comparator circuit will we want to set the or will we want to change the on and off period of that PWM generator while its duty cycle will remain same. Okay. For example, we'll consider suppose that DC output voltage, expected DC output voltage is 5 volt and due variation in either supply voltage or variation in load current, if it tries to go down by 4.5 volts, okay, just imagine that output voltage do not retain at its 5 volt amplitude, it tries to go down by 4.5 to 4.5 volts instead of 5. That means output voltage decreases by 0.5 volt. What action the circuitry should take so that the output voltage again will get retained to 5? Logically, the on period of that gate driver circuitry, it should get increased slightly. Yes or no? That means instead of 1.2, if it increases to 1.5 microsecond, while off period will get decreased. It will get decreased to 48.5 microseconds. While the duty cycle will remain same. See, we are not changing the duty cycle. We are changing what? T on and T off. Duty cycle is nothing but T on divided by T on plus T off. Right now, duty cycle will remain same even if you try to calculate it. Because we are changing that T on as well as T off. So here you will observe whenever slightly on period will get increased or slightly off period will get decreased, the power delivered to the load side, it will get increased. Correct. Are you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
How much more power will get delivered, that will be equivalent to 0.5 volts. Whatever the output voltage was decreased from 5 volt to 4.5 volts, it will get refilled again to 5 volts, will get retained to 5 volts. Similarly, if that output voltage tries to increase above 5, for example, if it becomes 5.5, then what action this controlling circuitry will take? It will go on to reduce the on period and will go on to increase the off period. So the power delivery will get reduced so that the output voltage will get reduced to its 5 volts. Yes or no? And that's why there is a comparator circuit. See, one terminal of the comparator, it is given to the reference voltage. This will remain fixed. But the feedback voltage which is given to the another input terminal of that comparator will go on to decide its output in terms of voltage level. And that output in terms of voltage level, it will go on to change the output of this PWM. Right? Output of PWM means what? Or how it will go on to change the output of that PWM. During our practical session, I will explain this thing. Okay. So I think you might have studied, you might have understood this basic block diagram of SMPS. So is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today, during our practical session, we will try to design and develop this PWM. Okay. So our time is over. So we'll stop here, and today only we'll meet at 1:45 p.m. sharply. Okay.